All right, folks. Good night to you. Good morning if you're tuning in the following day, afternoon, evening, something like that. I hope everything's going well for you. Uh, as we get some people to tune in, quick announcement, something I want to mention at the start of the show. Uh, Maggie T, please give her some attention if you can, because last time I checked, she was in the hospital. So please, if you can, reach out to her, let her know that you're there to support her, because I think support right now is the least that people can do. So making sure that gets out there first. I'm gonna make sure that she'll see this part of it too. So just letting you know. And another announcement, Trey, tell them what day it is for you.
Birthday today, guys. Turning 14 today. New year, or not new year, but new 365, I guess. Sad to be spending it in quarantine, but I'll be straight. Probably be back up and at 'em probably Tuesday. Do something next weekend, but glad to still be here and have the chance to be on live and have another birthday to even celebrate, because I know a lot of people don't have that chance right now, of course, with COVID and everything going on.
Absolutely. So welcome to the people that we got here right now. Got Gabrielle Lambro. Nice. I don't think I've seen you. So welcome.
You said who?
Gabrielle Lambro.
I think I've only seen her once, and that was a couple streams ago. Welcome, though.
Right.
I mean, we accept anyone here, Falcons
Mcdowell,
fans,
how's it going?
fan.
Atlanta Nation, you already know what's up. Easy B, how's it going? Ultra Chatter 97, how you doing? There you go.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, you've been in the chat all year. Wow. Guess I haven't recognized everybody yet, so still learning.
All right. Time up here in a year, so getting used to things.
Well, early year. I know I started back in late August, and now there we are. So, all right. A couple of things I wanted to discuss first is, I like this music. I do. But no, there's a couple of other conversation we want to get to, and then we're going to save another question so that more people can hop on to the stream. I'm going to try to stay around 45 minutes into it, so be prepared. We're going to talk about the main question that's what's bringing everybody here. So, but the first thing I want to talk about is this question right here. All right, this is a scenario. So we could re-sign Score-darrelle Patterson, but Trey wanted to know what cost or what price tag would you be willing to put on him? Okay. So Trey, do you have an answer?
My bad. The phone was lagging a little bit. So I was after the show, I asked Mike and them while we were still, like in the Discord, what they would pay or what they were willing to pay Cordell. And for me, for them, they said, not too much. If it takes a little friendly 2-year deal or something, give him the deal. But for me, he's 31 years old, and this has happened to us in the past. Old guys, 29, turning 30, or guys 30, turning 31, have a little breakout year with us. I think it happened to Adrian Claiborne back in 2016 or 17, and we ended up signing him for like a 2-year, $20 million, $22 million deal, and that just did not work out. Now, I know Clay, running back, really just the offensive unit and the defensive end. are two very different positions, but they're kind of in the same concept as well. They both had breakout seasons, first or second year under the new regime. They were both on a contract year. They're both in their early 30s, or I think Claiborne was like 32 or 30, 32, 31. But the thing is, now I do understand Cordell was never used like this before, so he may still have a lot left in the tank. I don't know if the decline in his production later in the season was because they were trying to give Mike Davis another chance or see what they had behind Cordell. But that kind of scared me a little bit just because 31, we just seen it with Julio. Julio was only played like 8 games last year, and he's still 32. So that lets you know what these hits are doing to guys, and you saw it with Deebo Samuel in the playoffs, mostly in that NFC Championship game where he only had one carry the entire fourth quarter, and that was really because he was their main load, really from the midpoint of the season to the end of the season and the entire playoff run they had. So if Cordell wants to come back on a friendly 2-3 year $10 million deal, and he gets paid $3 to $4 million a year, I say do it. If he's asking for 8 to 9, maybe even 10 million for like 2 to 3 years, I say just go draft another guy. James Cook is really that type of Cordell Patterson-esque player in a draft that can go do inside runs, do kick returns, go out wide, and just be that gadget player. So if he's asking for that type of money, just go sign to draft a younger, probably not better version, but he'll still get a younger, cheaper guy. But if he's here and if he really, really wants to stay and he wants to help us out on the field and with the cap space, and he sounds like a 3-year, $10-12 million deal, I say do it.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky because, as you said, like we've seen the decrease in his production later on the year. I think it's because he hasn't really been used to taking those hits as a running back yet. So maybe that's a little bit added wear and tear. You mentioned the comparison with Deebo Samuel. Funny thing is, Kyle Shanahan is saying he's going to double down on that type of offense and saying like, oh hey, I'm going to keep running this guy to the ground because he got us this far into the postseason. But with Patterson, it's a different story. As much as I want to say that, hey, pay this man because he's helped us so much throughout the season when it comes to just giving us that spark on the offense. It's really the type of money where it's like, okay, well, here's the money for rewarding you for what the season has been for you. Here's the money for the expectation that you can offer us this following year and any kind of years after that. But there's also a diminishment of that because you're 31, and this is also your second year actually playing a running back spot full time. So can we expect this from you long term? And will you be able to do some of the other things that other running backs will have to do for us too? Like, can you pass protect? Can you take care of all of our other responsibilities on top of, making sure that you remain that spark for us later in the game, later in the season, and that kind of stuff too. So I think it's going to be interesting about what we give to him. I would also kind of say like, hey, maybe a 2-year deal for you, maybe around 4 or 5 million for you at this point, because I want to reward him for wanting to be here, but I don't want to seem like we're ripping him off or that we're not treating him with respect that he deserves because we're giving him like a low ball of a deal. But you also got to understand, it's like the running backs that are getting paid higher than you. Well, first of all, they're all younger, but second of all, they have more of a potential to grow on the offense a little bit more because they have a longer shelf life. Now, obviously, the average length of a running back's career is about 3 to 4 years, but can you really get some good mileage out of that for a while in the season that just got longer. So I would like to see him get paid. But knowing the struggles that we have right now with the money, hopefully he'll be able to understand that, and try to take a smaller deal just to improve the rest of the team around him, because having the offense completely predicated around him and Kyle Pitts, that's not sustainable. All right. We've seen it with other offenses too. It's like, hey, if you just have one or two weapons that you use a lot, look at the Packers. They used Devante Adams, they used Aaron Jones a lot. They didn't win them a game when it mattered the most. Now you're seeing offense. Exactly. At their own spot. So you've seen, and obviously take a look at the examples of the two teams in the Super Bowl. They have multiple weapons. So building the offense from the outside and then kind of back into the trenches. I know it seems very topsy-turvy of a philosophy, but it's working for these two teams because, obviously, like, the Rams have like a better pass offensive line, but they're still not regarded as the best, So while they got some good players, they're not considered the top. So understanding this, it's gonna probably give people a flip in their style of how they want to build the team. And when it comes to using our guys that are versatile, I'd say, hey, work with what you got right here and then put him around, get some more pieces around him. That way you can kind of keep his shelf life a bit longer on your offense because the productivity that you can provide. If you need a pinch, if you need a spark, if you need something like that that you can get from him. And on top of that, he's got other knowledge elsewhere that he'd like to provide for your other younger guys, like a kick returner and punt return and so forth. So having him around is going to be absolutely essential for next year. But at what cost? You better be happy that I'm not Jerry Fontenot. That's all I'll say. So, I just want to mention this. Where's the link? It's going to be later on in the show. I'm going to ask enough a question, and then we can kind of get more participation involved. Obviously, you guys can still participate in the chat right now with the question that we're asking, but it is what it is right now. What's going on? Stephen Smith. Anyone can. Yeah, exactly. Atlanta forever. How's it going? Kenneth Lewis. How's it going? Glad to have you with us this Saturday night for you. What were you going to say?
Also, on the Cordell thing, if you guys get people like Taysom Hill, that was kind of like that. But look at him now. They tried to make him a quarterback, like the main guy and the gadget guy, and dude missed like 6 to 7 games with a concussion, and then got injured again in the last game. So, yeah, and he's older than Cordell. I think he's 33 or 34. And if you see that on a guy that's older, that Terry just came from New Orleans, so he knows how that works. He knows how Taysom Hill, how that offense was predicated around and what the weapons they needed. Now we don't run the same offense as Sean Payne, of course. It's still a West Coast system, but Arthur puts more of a running game into it. But though you have to see that Cordell was basically our Hill this year, and he basically only played really 10 full games, if you think about it. He did have a couple, good rip-off runs later in the season, but if you think about it, those first 10 games were his best, and those last 7 were kind of like showing what his age.
You there, Trey? You there? God, not again. Trey, can you hear me? That's not a good sign. Anyways, well, you know what? if we're going to continue to have audio issues, I don't know if anyone is going to be able to hear each other. So we're going to get to it. Don't worry. We still got a good portion of our show to continue to do, though. All right, take 2. Please tell me you can hear me.
There we go. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, good. We're good. Okay. Thank goodness. All right, Alex Edwards, welcome. I totally agree with you on that. Scotty Robinson, how's it going? Says, I can't wait when Atlanta Falcons go to free agency in the draft this offseason. I think knowing the window of opportunity for us is definitely going to be a good sign for our fan base. Or Grady Jarrett is a good trade candidate. I've been hearing that too. Problem is, it ain't all that easy to find the next leader of your defense. You know, so with his high of a motor, with his want to win, we need that on that side of the ball. All right, there hasn't been that many vocal people on the defense for us in order to really continue the trend of, hey, let's just get these dudes that want to win for us.
Especially on the interior on side of the defense, like the D line.
Exactly. I want to be able to reward him here while he still wants to be here. So as much as he's got that contract that kind of makes you nervous about whether or not we want to actually move on from him. You know, not because of a talent reason, but just simply because he could be a cap casualty for us moving on. So that's going to be up in the air this offseason. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, I still want the best case scenario to happen for both parties, for both him and the Falcons, of course. So,
all right. Even for Grady though, before we go to the next thing, even for Grady though, if you end up trading him and you get like a first round pick and you spend that pick on a guy like Jordan Davis or White, and they end up being a bust, and you see Grady Jarrett, 5 years after you traded him and he's Super Bowl champion and still got motor left in him. Now that trade and that pick looks stupid when you could have just extended him, which they're most likely going to extend either Matt or Grady. Those are really the top 2 candidates right now. Really, they may extend both, to be honest, but the more I'm leaning towards is Grady just because he's younger and on the defensive side of the ball. Plus, he's on his last year. Matt Ryan still has 2 years left. Grady's on his last year. And if we don't extend him and then we give him a deal next year, it's just going to lower the cap space even more than it would if we just extend him now and then go into the next year with that deal. So he probably, it's like a 10%, maybe 20% chance he gets traded this offseason. More likely going to get extended to free up cap space.
Yeah, I mean, that does segue us nicely into our next question we wanted to ask. This has kind of already been asked too. Before I get to that though, shout out to Tony Wright that's also here. He says, what is up, AFN Network team? Well, the Senior Bowl is in the books. I've seen all the practices on the weekend. A review of the game today. Here's some really good prospects that we can draft. Can't wait to hear it. If you want to hold on to that and join us later when we discuss more about that, let me know, and that way we can kind of save you from typing up a storm. So, I mean, if you're comfortable with joining on, great. So, yeah, I'll be listening to a lot of rumors until you hear from the team. Yeah. What'd you say? You said we need to make 2 moves before the draft. Calvin Ridley for a 2nd round pick, which we're just going to be getting into that right now. A source of mine who lives on the West Coast has informed me that the Raiders are interested. He has worked out in LA, so, wouldn't be that bad of a jump in order to assume that he would want to go somewhere there. Considering the last time that we had one other wide receiver was like working out and training somewhere else, they went to that team. I'm pretty sure y'all can guess who I'm talking about. Exactly. But yeah, let's get into this question about the best place for Atlanta to trade Ridley to. Um, because if you're thinking about this answer from Calvin Ridley's perspective, sure, why don't you go ahead and send him off to, it's so weird because he's got connections in so many different places right now, right? Like he's like, oh, I'm gonna like a post about me being on the Dolphins. Oh, I'm gonna wear a Jets hat. I'm going to practice in California, and then I'm gonna, you don't know how much he's gonna miss Julio. So a lot of different trade candidates to go to. Not to mention he's also got some chemistry with Jalen Hurts over in Philly, so maybe that can be revitalized. It's gonna be interesting for Ridley's side of things. But the best spot for Atlanta to give him to, because they're gonna have the final say so, because it's not like Ridley doesn't have like a no trade clause in his deal. He's still on his rookie contract. So he's a bit expendable at the moment. And zero dead cap sounds really nice to me. So making sure that we give him a place that is suitable for the best interest of the Falcons. Is that going to be what Ali? How's it going, Ali? Send him off to the Jets for their 2 second-round picks. I don't know if he's going to be worth that much, considering the Jets, specifically the Jets, have said that, he's a problematic wide receiver. When they really just saw a couple weeks ago Antonio Brown just like remove all of his clothing and just like just do jumping jacks out of the stadium in East Rutherford. So I don't know how you want to make that assumption that he's going to be a problematic receiver and then turn around and be like, yeah, what Antonio Brown is doing is acceptable. Okay. Let's see. So Trey, what was your answer as far as like sending him to a specific team?
As far as the Jets, if he wants to leave a team, and I don't really think he likes the fan base either. If he thinks we're giving him hell, just wait till he has a bad game, 2 games that are bad in New York. They will be all over him. It will be worse than it is for Matt Ryan in Atlanta, probably. New York fans, specifically New York Jets fans, don't play when. Now, they do have a lot of good fans that, will give a guy time, kind of like what a lot of fans wanted for Sam Darnold. But as soon as Calvin really has that one drop that cost them a game, or that one touchdown drop that could have won them a game or something like that, that entire fan base will, probably that entire state, will be all over him. Really, I have heard that the top 3 landing spots right now are Philly, Miami, and the Patriots. But the thing all in common with them is every quarterback that's there is from Alabama. But the only thing is, the only quarterback that from Alabama that hasn't played with Calvin is Mac Jones. So really, I do end up thinking it's a split tie between Philly and Miami, just because, well, one, Philly has 3 first-round picks. So even if we know he's not worth one, we know they want to give one up, and they know 2 of their cornerstone pieces in Jalen Hurts and Devante Smith probably want him there. So they're probably going to do anything to try to get him there. In Miami, for Miami case, though, they do have a late first-round pick. So it's not like a high top 15, top 20. It's like in I think the 28th or 29th pick, San Fran's pick. So if they wanted to give that up, because their second-round pick isn't until like, I think pick 48, 49. And that's later than ours. And I don't think Atlanta wants a pick unless it's in the first round that's later than their own. So for me, I'm probably going to have to say Philly for that 19th or 16th pick.
Ooh, I mean, with that destination, it's kind of tough because I get what you're saying about them trying to get him to there, but the problem is it might be too easy to convince the Falcons to take him there. That they might not have the ball in their court in order to dictate what pick to want to get from Philly. So, I mean, obviously, if it was completely up to the Falcons, then yeah, they would try to bargain for one of those first round picks. But the Cards, they're not always going to fall our way. So I could also see a scenario where we send them off to Miami because, well, heck, dude, there's no hiding that you wanted to be there. Also, so
Now there is a case where we do send him to a team that's not even close to where he wants to go, and that's probably maybe if Terry and Arthur are like, well, we thought you went out on a mental health case and you just wanted to get out when you should have just told us that, and we could have probably been talking trade talks towards the end of the season to get that started with. Now they don't know. His agent has to talk with them, and if they find out that he just wanted to get out of Atlanta or didn't want to play, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him to a team like the Jags or the Jets, Texans, or something, a team that's nowhere near winning, and just like, hey, have fun over there.
Whew. Got a whole new batch of problems dropped on you. Wall Smith might bring up an interesting point. It says, like, we can't afford to have 2 first-round picks. Well, what if we take one of our seconds and add it into that deal? And instead of having a first and 2 seconds, we could have 2 firsts and 1 second.
And then we could still end up trading a guy like Deion Jones or Kellen McGarry too. So that does probably add like a 3rd-round pick there. So you have 2 first-round talents in the top 20. You have that 43rd pick or 50th, with whichever one they trade, and then probably 2 3rd-round picks. That's about enough for the cap space that you have if you don't end up extending both Matt and Grady and trading Calvin.
Yeah, a lot of things to work for. Mcdowell's thinking that he is worth a first-round pick.
His talent-wise, he is. But as far as right now, you have to think about right now. We know talent-wise, Calvin Ridley's probably worth a top 10 pick. But as far as right now, we know you're not going to get a top 10 pick for Ridley just because, well, in the 5 games you played, you didn't even eclipse 300 yards like some receivers did in the first 3 weeks. So, you have to think of that. And also the drops. Some of them being easy drops, some of them being ones where he got hit, but he still was holding on to the ball. He just didn't bring it in. And really just the drama that he's bringing to Atlanta right now. And you could say this has a big effect on Matt Ryan, which it does, but I think it has an effect on Kyle Pitts too, because you have to remember Kyle Pitts he wasn't supposed to be the number 1 guy heading into the season. He was supposed to be the number 2, maybe even number 3. He ended up being the number 1 guy in like the first 5 weeks. And it's for a tight end. And that's not supposed to happen. You're not so even for George Kittle, he's not the number 1 guy. Travis Kelce, he's not the number 1 guy. He's like the number 2. He can be the number 1 guy. He can perform at number 1 guy status, but he's not. They're not supposed to be the number 1 guy. So I think this does put a little bit more pressure on Kyle Pitts, because Arthur Smith, I know Arthur Smith is talking to these guys, and it may not seem like it, but I know he's keeping these guys informed. And you never know, some guys like Russell Gage may be talking to Calvin some days, thinking about where are you going, or his boyfriend up in Tennessee, so you never know. But I think this does put a little bit more pressure on Kyle Pitts, because 1, he made the Pro Bowl. He's living his life up there in Vegas. But 2, you have to realize he's a rookie. He's a second-year tight end. And tight ends aren't supposed to do that. Most tight ends don't really pop off till year 3. He popped off in the first 5 weeks of year one. So I think with all of this, it does bring a little concern. Not concern, but a little more pressure on KP, just because, well, we thought you were the number one. You thought you were supposed to be the number one in 2021, or just wait till 2022 when you're probably going to be the best player on the offense, and a position that Matt Ryan counts on to be his little check down or his little chip away when everything else is covered. So,
all right. Let's get into our next question, kind of leading into some more draft talk. I want to ask this question because just to try to get something cleared out, because we're going to have positions cleared out by the end of free agency, so that can kind of narrow our path for what to target in the draft. So I'm taking a look at this draft class, and I'm taking a look at some of the thinner positions where it comes to, or as far as like the depth that you can find there. It's like there is some drop off in talent at each and every position. Some positions don't even have a drop off. It's just like a straight up like, yeah, there's very slim pickings to have there. So knowing that though, leading into free agency, what is the position that has to be filled out before we even get to the draft?
Now my top three, I'm gonna have to end up picking one out of this, but my top three will probably be center, guard, and wide receiver. Center, of course, you have Tyler Linderbaum in the draft, but after that, who's really there? You'll probably just be picking up another Matt Hennessy-esque type prototype.
Another Drew Dahlman.
Yeah, just another Drew Dahlman in the third round. That's back-to-back years. You're just wasting another pick. Left guard. Now, the guard position is filled this year. And there's a lot of guys at tackle that are big enough and quick enough and leaning enough to move to guard too. But we saw how that worked out with Mayfield switching a right tackle to left guard, and you see the difference it puts. And for me, I just want to draft or sign a pure guard that can just play guard. And I know Terry and Arthur love versatility, but sometimes versatility isn't always going to work, and they're going to realize that, going into the later years. But right now, if they want to win now, they have to realize kick Mayfield out the right tackle and sign a guy or draft a guy at guard. And then wide receiver, there's some good talent at wide receiver in free agency, and there's a lot of good talent in the draft. But to me, I think wide receiver is going to end up being that position that has to be filled in free agency. Just because if you end up trading Calvin Ridley, the only wide receiver you have on contract is Frank Darby, a 6th-round pick that only played 4 offensive snaps and was injured all year and didn't only have 1 catch. I'm not sure you want that to be one of your top 3 guys. Maybe 4 or 5, but I don't think you want that to be a top 3. So I do think it's like a 95% chance Ridley ends up getting traded right now. So you're going to have to sign at least 2 wide receivers in free agency. One of them is going to have to be a number 1 guy, or a guy that was number 2 or number 1 at their own place, but they were kind of underrated. Kind of guys like Christian Kirk or DJ Chark or Michael Gallup, something like that. But you're going to have to sign at least 2 wide receivers in a free agency, or draft 2 and sign 1, because you can't just go into the new draft with only Frank Darby and Russell Gage Russell Gage is a free agent too. So you can't just go into the draft with just Frank Darby there at wide receiver and then try to fill all those spots with a whole bunch of rookies. You're going to need some veteran presence, and I just think that you have to sign at least 2 wide receivers in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday Devante was talking about how lonely Ogundeji looks as the only outside linebacker on our roster. I was like, man, if you get rid of Ridley, Frank Darby's going to be equally just as lonely, and he doesn't even have the experience in order to try to be or even a rotational piece. So, that's a lot of pressure to try to put on someone like that when they're very unproven. Obviously there could be like one or two people that we can get back. Like what Aaron Mcdowell was saying, like, hey, we can probably re-sign Gage. For what it's worth. It's always good to have some chemistry with your quarterback, and that's something that he at least provides there. He's been in the room with both Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, so hopefully he can have any sort of knowledge to pass on to the next couple of wide receivers if we were to retain him. Obviously, that can also be Matt's job and the rest of the wide receiver position's job as well. But making sure that okay, there we go. Making sure that have something there on your roster. That way, it's not going to be that much of an obvious need for you. Antonio Brown is not going here.
No. If we sign Antonio Brown, it's just Calvin Ridley.
Nobody can fix that man.
Yeah.
Nobody can fix that man. He doesn't want to fix himself because he doesn't think he's broken.
If a player walks out on you mid-game, and I'm not meaning like the guy that retired in Buffalo at halftime. I mean, it's like during a play, like a actual live play, and he undresses himself with just his pants and shoes on and throws his gloves into the stands and then is doing jumping jacks while throwing up the peace sign off the field. I don't want that on my team. Because you never know if that's going to happen again. And it probably will be if someone burst a bubble on the team or something. And I thought Antonio was straight. I thought, Tom Brady had gotten him fixed. But that just goes to show if Tom Brady can't get that man in check, no one can get that man in check.
He's had so much access to everything too in order to try to get him to a better place in his mental stability.
And
all the team doctors, all the
facilities,
all the money that he's got access to, but he never wants to recognize that he needs the help. So what are you going to do for a guy that doesn't want help? He doesn't want to help himself. So what do you expect everyone else to do that has tried their best in order to put him in a better situation? He's reached out to the people that he's wanted to be with. Not even they could help him. So even the people that are as close as possible to him, and he can't get any sort of recovery treatment, it's not worth it. All right, the talent is not worth it to have that kind of headache on the field and making sure that it's like, hey, am I going to have him on the team? Like, am I actually going to have him for the full length of the game? The fact that you have to ask that question lets you know that there's so many other players in this NFL. There's so many players that are trying to be the next star, and you're preventing that from happening just because you want to sign another guy that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm sorry, but that's not a formula for trying to build a stable culture of winning.
Especially when your culture is already trying to... I mean, the culture is great in Atlanta. It seems like all the guys that are there, or at least most of them, we have... I don't even call him Dante Fowler. I call him...
Failure Man.
Yeah. That one, too. What did I call him? Dirtface. After he got stiff-armed by Josh Allen twice in that Buffalo game. He really just showed me he just has to go after the effort. I mean, the effort was never there during the season, but dear God, the effort in Buffalo was like, I understand it's cold, but every other player on the team feels that. Even Buffalo players said it was mad cold out there. So you're telling me you feel like you were really the only guy out there not giving it 100%, and then you got embarrassed on live TV twice. You lucky that interception happened, because I was really about to be a touchdown if Foye and Harmon don't capitalize on that play. And then the rushing touchdown. I think it was the second one he had. He literally just straight up stiff armed him like he was a 6-year-old kid trying to tackle him or something like that. What was that quarterback in that one movie? He was like a grown man playing football with these kids, and then all of a sudden he's running with him, and then the kid tries to tackle him. He just stiff armed him like he was like a kid. He was like, Fowler is just, he's got to go.
Well, the problem is that if we let him go, we're not saving any money. We're actually just spending about like $4, maybe $5 million just to let him sit somewhere else. So,
it's worth it. I mean, you look, I understand that you need all the edge rush help you can get.
Well, you also need as much money that you can get too.
Yeah, as much money as you can get. And I know it. I think it saves you $7 million, but it dead cap is like $5 million. So you're really only saving $2 million. But he's only worth $2 million. You know, there's no other team that's going to pay him the contract Thomas Dimitrov gave him. I didn't even like that contract right there for a 1-year wonder. That was like, he was drafted in 2019, 5 seasons in, and that's your first double-digit sack season, and you were the number 3 overall pick. And most of those sacks were because Aaron Donald got double teamed. He just got left free, like no one blocked him, and he didn't have that on there. He didn't have that. He had a Grady Jarrett, but there was really nobody else to block other than Grady Jarrett. So still, though, whenever he came free, missed opportunities. He got stiff-armed by Tyler Heinicke. Heinicke's not even over 6'2". I think he's like 5'11", maybe 6 feet.
Probably 6 feet tall.
He's like 215, 220, and only 6 feet. Dante's 6'3", 240. And you're telling me you're getting stiff-armed by that? Like, yeah, he's I'd take Ogundeji over Fowler any day, because at least Ogundeji, he may not get home every time, but he makes plays in the run and he shows effort 100% out of the plays he play.
Oh yeah, and he's got better tangibles too. Like he's got longer arms, he's got a bigger frame. He's a quick learner too, which is something I've noticed right away. Atlanta Nation says Fowler's number is the amount of effort he gives. 6.
He's right on that.
Yeah.
He is right on that.
But, I mean, there's just something's got to give with that, man. I mean, we can say all the excuses that we want. He can say all the excuses that he wants. But, you know, don't try to say anything right now and be like, and try to pull up Brandon Copeland and be like, oh, well, I was hurt most of the year. That's why I didn't have anything. That's why I didn't do anything. Yeah, that's the excuse I'm going to give, like weeks after the season's already ended. Like,
now that I noticed, he said that all the way back in March. Dude, the season ended in December, dude. And the game right there, the sack you had was because Ronald Jones missed his assignment. It's like, can you really trust that anymore? And then I thought, okay, like, you know, new regime, he's coming in here, way better DC, way better coaching staff. Like, okay, 10 sacks, 5 sacks, 8 sacks, somewhere around that range. He barely got 3. And it's like even
and
if
like
you were
his deal was
that year.
And his deal was heavily incentivized too. Like he got like millions more dollars if he just got like an extra couple sacks.
And make 1 sack.
Couldn't do it.
He would have
to make 1 sack. You had 5 games to make 1 sack. Couldn't do it. All right. The real risk saying that he may disagree with us and saying that he can keep Fowler, he can produce when surrounded with talent. If all you're having him do is just to be a cleanup guy, I don't want you at that price tag.
We can go find. I mean, Ogundeji was really just. I mean, Taquan Garen was really just a cleanup guy, you know, and he really played better, even though he didn't get the sacks. He played better than Dante Fowler did this year, in my opinion. He made more plays in a run. I think he forced like 2 or 3 interceptions out of the year this year. So it was like Fowler, the one time he actually showed some motor, we won the game, off of that Foye interception. Every other time it's like, come on, man. Like, it's always a tick second late, or dang it, he didn't wrap up, or come on, man, bring him down, or how are you getting bull rushed 15 yards back by a tight end? What was that, the Bucks game? He wasn't even on Gronk. He was on Cameron Brate, and it was like a 5 to 6 yard game because Leonard, they ran. It was like a 26 dive, and Cameron Brate just out muscled him, like straight up, like pushing 10 yards down the field. You're like, what are you doing all the way back down there? You're nearly with Deron Harmon. It's like, what are you doing all the way back down there? And it's like, his talent is man, but his motor and his give, bottom of the barrel, just terrible. And I'd be surprised if a team signs him to a 2-year deal next year if we end up cutting him. I wouldn't even sign him to a 1-year 5. I'd probably give him like 1 year 3.
He's gonna get the Takk McKinley deal.
1 year, $1.5 million.
Something like that. Yeah.
Go buy a $100,000 condo and live there. And to be honest, his incentives is only going to be about an extra $800,000 if he gets like 3 sacks. At least we know he can get 3 sacks out of 17 games.
That's what backups do on other teams, y'all. Like,
that's the sad. He starts. Ogundeji had like 2 sacks this year, and he was mainly a rotational piece. I mean,
I would rather have Jacob Tuioti-Mariner back on the team.
For real, because he made more. Even though he only played like 2 games on the Steelers, he still made plays. Like that Ravens game, he was crushing the pocket on that TJ Watt sack. I think the first Ravens game, he just bull rushes a dude and then slips under him, and then Lamar has got to run to the right side, and then TJ Watt's right there. I'm like, when did Fowler ever do that? When did a quarterback ever just, okay, oh shoot, Fowler's coming, so I gotta go run this way to not get avoided by him? No, they just stood there like, oh, he's coming. All right, let me just throw the ball right quick. And
I mean, all you need are just guys that want to play, that just want to get after, and not guys that are just going to settle on the team.
It's like, okay, I'm making money. I guess I'll just be on you guys for another year or 2.
No, that's not good enough for us. Especially if you want to try to do something and be productive and try to help the team win, you got to put more effort into that, buddy. Because like I said, there's many other pass rushers that would want your job that can't get it because of people like you. They're going to be too willy-nilly about the way you go about your business on the field. So he wasn't even that good for 2 seasons. It's like, if he was really as good as a guy like Vic Beasley, they were from the same draft, by the way. That's not good. Like, I'm pretty sure Vic Beasley beats him in the amount of sacks that he's got.
Vic, the year that Vic Beasley got cut, he had 8 sacks. In the 2 years Dante's been with us, he's only had 6. Okay, that doesn't even beat out Vic Beasley's one quote unquote sorry year, that the year he got released. It's like we were signing you to be better than Beasley, not be dumb worse than he was. At least Beasley showed some effort, Now, of course, no one knows where Vic Beasley's at, but the year, what I will say about Vic, he had a 15 sack season. He led the league in sacks 1 year. He was consistently getting at least 7 to 8 sacks a year. I think he had like 1 or 2 years where he didn't, but he was getting pressure on the quarterback from the outside. We just didn't have any. Grady wasn't as dominant as he is now back in 2016 and 17. Now, if we had that Vic Beasley and Grady now, we can only imagine
it'd
how
be like
good the
that Clemson
defensive line.
defensive line all over again.
Yeah. Well, other than 96, but he can go.
All right, I think we reached the good portion of the show where we can really bring in some more people for us. Let's see if I do. All right, so here's the question that I'm going to be giving out for all y'all in the chat. Who is the team to beat in the NFC South? So let's see if we can get some of your responses and answers, or if you want to continue on with something else, if you want to talk about the Senior Bowl, if you want to talk about, continue with another discussion that we've already had. Let's hear from you. Our first one, how's it going, Alex?
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, good to hear from you. So, you gonna answer the question, or you want to bring about something else, or what you got?
I figure that today would be a good day to talk about one of my guys that I love in the draft. I was gonna initially wait for a minute, but I figured this would be a good time. Now that I just kind of like re-scouted him again, just to like get that excitement that I was feeling when I initially scouted him. In case you guys don't know, that guy is Marcus Jones. Now, initially when I looked at him, I kind of brushed him off because I was kind of just sick and tired of looking at cornerbacks, at least when I was looking at him, because I was just looking at cornerbacks and none of them except for like the top two and maybe like one other cornerback played with one or two other cornerbacks played with like the technique that I was really looking for, like the technique that Io plays with and AJ Terrell plays with, where they have a low hand on the receiver's waist and one on the upper chest to kind of feel where the route is going. So like when they're trying to turn and get on their break, they have an idea of where they're going, so they're not like getting beat on that break. Marcus Jones, like the first game, I kind of just brushed him off. Then I came back a second game because I just was interested and I wanted to make sure I got on just a fair look. And when I looked at the second game, I was like, okay, I see why people are talking about. Or like he plays with that technique for most of the time. Occasionally he might get burnt deep, and very rarely does he really get just flat out beat. So that's good. But he also plays outside, inside. He's played safety a few snaps. He plays punt returner and kick returner, both dangerous in those fields too. And he's even played wide receiver for Houston. So he plays literally every position that you really want him to play, and then some. Like, he's good in zone. He's good in the run game. He doesn't have crazy length, or is he like 6'3" or something? He's actually 5'9". But I still think that he can play on the outside or inside in the NFL. And I think that a DB core of Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Jones, Isaiah Oliver, and AJ Terrell is just dangerous because you can just put everyone anywhere. Like, you can put Hamilton in the linebacker role. You can put Hamilton in the slot and move Marcus Jones to the outside or Io to the outside. You can just play around with it so much. And I think that that's something that Dean Pease would absolutely love.
Interesting. The one thing that concerns me is the frame. Like you say, he's 5'9". We have learned that these smaller corners, they may be speedy, but what a lot of teams are doing, like the Bengals, they know they have, okay, T. Higgins is 6'4", 6'5". We have a guy like Marcus Williams, or what's the other cornerback? Forgot his name, but he's like 5'11". So like, okay, hey, put him on a jump ball. No one's like No one's going to contest with that. If you put him on the outside, he's basically the shortest guy on the field, maybe other than a running back. So if you put him in the slot, you can't put him against a tight end. If you put him in on the outside, you're going to have to protect him. Like, you have to have – he sounds like the type of guy that can be good, but you're going to have that safety help or that help around him, kind of like with Isaiah Oliver. Now, Oliver did improve on that in the slot. You know, he's in that role to where, okay, I don't have to guard these top elite wide receivers. I just have to guard stars that I can handle. So I can handle the little big tight ends like he did with Evan Ingram, but I can also handle these small, speedy guys, but all I have to do is just jam them at the line. So the only thing that concerns, he sounds like a very good player. The only thing that concerns me is that frame and that height.
Yeah, I feel that concern. The one thing I will say though is when I'm factoring in his height, I do take that into account. But I've also seen him break up plays against Alec Pierce, who's a third-round draft prospect or projected third-round draft prospect, who I think is around 6'4", 6'5", if I'm not mistaken, and really known for his jump balls like George Pickens, Drake London. And he's broken some of those passes up. He looks like he has a good vertical, and his ball skills are quite amazing. Like, I've seen him make some crazy interceptions. I'm not saying that that he should be on the outside full time, but I think that it could be a nice mix up. You're right. He shouldn't really be playing against tight ends, but I think he can play against some big slots. I think he can play a little bit outside. Depending on the matchup and who's there. But I think you can switch around and play with him a little bit. And let's just say he does get burnt. You always have Darren Hall, who I think is going to improve this coming year. I think he just adds a lot to the DB room with his technique.
All right. We got Yeezy joining us as well. Welcome. How's it going?
What's up?
Hey, nice to have you here. Good to join us.
Yes.
At a bit of technical difficulty. Well, they were kind of going on about some of the prospects that they liked about, some of the guys in the secondary, about Marcus Jones, and if they were to try to pair him up with guys like Kyle Hamilton, the good duo that they could become on our defense. But one of the main questions I wanted to try to ask was, who is the team to beat in the NFC South? Is it going to be us? Is there another team that's like, oh, hey, well, they still have enough pieces in order to compete as well, like Tampa Bay, even though they got a lot of free agents. Carolina could be building up a strong defense, and all they're missing would be some offensive pieces. So depending on what they wanted to try to do, and it's always good enough for us to build to beat the Aints, but what can they do in order to try to save the situation? So are we the team to beat, or, what's your take on that?
None of those teams are the team to beat. None of us.
So you're saying it's up, like, completely up for grabs for anyone?
Up for grab, yeah.
So, like, no one's in first place, but no one's in last?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. New Orleans, we already know the deal with them. All right? Carolina. I actually think Carolina is like one quarterback away from making the playoffs.
It's scary, but I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah. The thing for us, we actually, I would say, one defense away, or one running back away. Same thing for us. But Tampa is actually they got a good defense. If they keep all their players together, they actually can make it one.
Yeah, the biggest problem with them would be the coaching staff that's going to leave. Byron Leftwich is trying to get jobs elsewhere. Todd Bowles is trying to get jobs elsewhere. I don't know about head coaching jobs anymore, thanks to whatever racist stuff is going on with Brian Flores' situation.
Arians has actually been. It was reported that when Tom Brady retired, he was going to retire too, because he's at that age now where he doesn't feel like developing an entire new young quarterback, kind of like what we thought Bill Belichick would do. But of course, he proved us wrong. Takes the rookie quarterback to the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years. But I think Tampa Bay may be in a rebuild mode because one, Chris Godwin's a free agent. Gronk may leave. Fournette and Ronald Jones are free agents. I think two of their key offensive linemen are free agents.
Damn.
Three of their starting DBs are free agents. Like that team, and they only have like $8 million in cap space. So it's gonna, and they're still paying Tom Brady too. It's not like that just went away. They're still paying Tom too. So you have to think if that coaching staff leave, which is reported Brian Leftwich may go get a head coaching job. Bowles may head with them. Brian may retire. That Tampa Bay may be in a little 2 to 3 year rebuild.
Oh yeah. D Coleman's got a question for us. You think they'll keep Trask or Gabbert? I would love that, or draft someone else again. From what I've heard, they've actually kind of said some decent things about Kyle Trask. So
he did land under the GOAT, so you never know. But they probably do just end up taking Trask. They're too well. Actually, this is the type of draft that you could draft a project quarterback in the 20s, but still though they're in the late 20s, and Malik, the guys that are kind of popping off like now, like Willis and Pickett and Corral, are most likely going to be gone. So do they take that chance? It's a question, or do they just stick with a guy that learned under Tom Brady and Kyle Trask and see what happens?
Yeah, do you think his playoff luck is going to rub off on the next quarterback they get?
I think see what happened with Jimmy G.
Well, all he had to do was exist. So, Mulcher Shadow 97 thinking about Gronk might retire again since Brady's gone. Josh Gillum, he brings up a question. It's like, hey, what if Tampa takes Malik Willis? They're gonna have to drop.
They're gonna have to do something.
They're gonna have to trade high, and I mean high, because with Washington, Carolina, and Pittsburgh are reported that they like Malik. They're gonna have to trade a good. They're at pick 27. They're gonna have to trade up like 22 spots just to get him.
Yeah, they're gonna have to fall.
You never know if Terry's thinking. You never know if Terry's thinking, hey, what if I like Malik and I want him to sit behind Ryan these last 2 years? So
or there could be another one of those situations where I've seen this happen a couple of times in the draft where another team will take a player just so that their division rival won't have him.
Seen it happen with
Dallas Goddard.
Yeah, Dallas Goddard. They didn't want the Giants to get him because they needed the tight end.
No, it was the Cowboys, and then the Eagles they traded up a spot before him just to take him.
Yeah, because that was the year that Jason Witten retired, right?
Probably.
Yeah, that was the year Jason Witten
and then
retired,
come back.
They didn't know what I don't think they had Dalton Schultz on the roster that year either. He came on the next year, so they had no one at tight end. And it was the Giants, the Eagles are like, no, you already got enough. You already got Zeke, Dak, Amari. Still ended up adding Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. So it didn't work out, but hey, they got a star-studded tight end in the process.
I mean, there are reports out there that say the 49ers want the second round for Jimmy G.
We already can tell that he's not worth that. Aaron Mcdowell, how's it going?
What's up, man? I'm all right. How y'all doing, man?
Great to join us.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
All right.
Loud and clear.
What you got for us tonight?
Yeah, man. I just want to comment on. I agree with him too. The division is up for grabs, but we have the most experienced quarterback in the whole division.
Yep. And we also got like what they don't have, right? We got what they don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That Ryan's going to be a huge X factor. If we get him some weapons, he'll really be the make or break, or if we make the playoffs this year. I don't think a lot of even the Matt Ryan haters, I don't think they understand with Brady leaving, there is no top guy anymore but Ryan. He's the
And
most
Sean
experienced.
Payton too.
And Sean
Yep.
Payton.
Yep.
Plus,
That's
they
a
need a
big factor.
quarterback. Plus, they are probably going to end up having to cut a lot of players off of that roster. I don't think people understand Matt Ryan is really the make or break at the playoffs. And if we end up trading him like some of them want, we'll probably end up going from third in the NFC. I mean, in the South, to maybe even fourth, because every quarterback in this draft class is probably going to lead us to a 2-15 record.
I agree. I agree.
This is a good question right here.
I mean,
We got a question.
Go ahead.
No, Ali got the question.
Oh, right. I was going to read it. He's saying, what are some later round draft picks to look out for? I feel like Alex.
So, I'm just gonna rattle a lot of people that I'm gonna just say. So I'm gonna go from like maybe second round to maybe fourth, fifth. I'll say something like that. Yeah. Arnold Beatty, great. If he falls to number 2, that would be a good pickup. A lot of people, or some people that I've been hearing, have been putting him up with Jermaine Johnson, which, if you've known anything about what Jermaine Johnson's done in the Senior Bowl, that dude has been literally playing out of his mind. Josh Pascal's another name that I've heard. He's kind of listing off a lot of names I'm hearing. Logan Hall, Cam Thomas, if he's available. There's Kingsley Igbarri, who's really good with his hands, but at least in the Senior Bowl wasn't really able to gain a whole ton of pressure. But I think that I don't know. I don't know. I think it's maybe I don't know. I think he's good with his hands, and it'll translate eventually to the NFL.
John Mechie in the fourth, probably.
John Mechie, I think, might be somewhere in the second or third. Maybe I don't think he'll drop to the fourth. But I think if he does, that's a great pickup, because if he drops to the fourth, I think that would just be insane, because he's just like a bootleg Jameson Williams, if I'm being quite honest with you. There's guys like Tyler Beatty that I like from Missouri. He's been actually gaining a lot of traction in the Senior Bowl, which is great, because now I can say I liked him before other people liked him. But he's a scat back that would be available in like the fourth round. There's guys like Otito. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, but he's a defensive tackle from UCLA, who's rumored to probably be available. Knowing the NFL, he's probably going to be available somewhere around the fourth round, because they're going to probably take him early. There's Travis Jones. There's guys like Haskell Garrett. There's Tyreek Smith, who I think is a guy who's flying semi under the radar, but I think he'll be picked somewhere in the third round. There's Zion. I'm not going to pronounce his name, but he's a guy out of Washington, another edge rusher. Jalen Tolbert, some guys have mentioned him from South Alabama. He's pretty good. Calvin Austin. I could go on for days. Someone stop me.
Kyle Phillips.
Kyle Phillips is also really good. Wide receiver from UCLA. Who else? We got. I'm trying to think of a whole bunch of
Armani Rogers, tight end, a quarterback convert, two tight end from Ohio.
I don't want to cut y'all off. I just got a question though. All those are great prospects, but what order do you think we should pick? Because you can't just say receiver is the most important position, because you need a blocker to pass, So what would be the most important position we need to pick first,
Depends.
I love
the biggest thing. Oh, you go first.
Oh no! You got it. You got it.
Okay. The biggest thing is going to count on what we do in free agency. That's what's going to depend on what we're most likely going to do at 8.
I agree.
If we don't sign like a top tier studded center or guard or tackle, we're probably going to end up drafting one in the first 2 rounds. If we don't end up signing a star-studded wide receiver, that pretty much tells you probably what we're going to do at 8 or 43. Same thing for edge. If we don't end up signing a guy like Harold Landry or Chandler Jones or something like that, tells you probably what we're going to do at 8 or 43 and beyond. So, that's the thing that the biggest thing that me and Noah were talking about earlier is what happens if you trade Grady Jarrett. That's just another hole that's added on the defense right there. You already got cornerback 2. You already got safety. You already have edge rushing help, maybe even linebacker because Deion Jones is struggling right now. And then you telling me I got to replace a 2-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle, and that's not the easiest thing to do in the world. I mean, it took us like 10 years just to do that, to find him, or my bad, 7. But yeah, everything, whatever we do at 8, really the first 3 picks that we have is all going to depend on what we do in free agency.
All right, that's why I brought up the question earlier. It's like, hey, like there's got to be some position that we got to fill out, because I don't want to end up like the Texans, where if you go to the PFF mock draft simulator and you try to pick as the Texans the needs, like the option for like who they have the needs, it literally says every position.
Right.
Quarterback, wide receiver, entire O-line, entire secondary, entire D-line, linebackers, running back, tight end. That team,
punter, head coach,
and a coaching staff. They basically need everything that you need to just make a team be functional. I mean, as a tech, fans think we're in a rough patch right now. Look at the Texans. They went from being a playoff team to blowing a 24-point lead to now their quarterback is maybe on the verge of going to prison, and you have no quarterback, no O-line, no running backs, no wide receivers, no secondary, no coaching staff, basically no team, and you still have a hard, egotistic general manager and owner.
And they also fired a good head coach too, which is kind of crazy. But that's for a different story. In my oh no, you got it. No.
Okay. Well, the weird thing about because you mentioned you want to try to give like a need to a quarterback, like, well, let's put some respect on Davis Mills, all right? Dude, you realize that this was the same team, like the one that literally needs everything. Like this was the same team that gave the Titans a hard fought and beat them. Mm-hmm. The team that gave the Patriots a hard fought earlier on in the season. Mm-hmm. They were the team that blew out the Chargers. Mm-hmm. Like, all you need are just guys that can contribute and guys that can play. Like, I know that they have about like 30 different free agents that they signed on 1-year deals, but some of them they just wanted to play. 33. There you go.
Tyrod Taylor played really well this year too. So that's like,
I agree.
That connection with Brandon Cooks.
But the thing is, he's on a 1-year deal too. Like, it would be so much better if some of these guys that actually helped them out were on like 2-year deals and this was their contract year. The thing is, you think the Texans that need basically everything on a roster, they have like 38, 39 free agents. You think they have cap space? They're not even top 5 in the league in cap space. They're like top 20 at like 28 million, 30 million.
Wow.
And then that's just a whole bunch of more. That's just more 1-year contracts right there. Mm-hmm.
So wow. You know it's bad when the Washington Commanders sound like a better team to be on right now.
I don't like the logo. I just don't like the logo.
As a DC native, I cannot tolerate any commanders slander. But
exactly, man.
Speaking of which, Tyrod Taylor, I'm gonna be honest, a little sneaky pickup. I think the Carolina Panthers, if they want to be competitive, should look at Tyrod Taylor.
And just be Teddy Bridgewater 2.0?
No, not well. With Teddy, right, his arm is kind of gone, basically, and his mobility's at best.
And Tyrod his head Taylor is nearly taken off too.
That's true too. But Tyrod Taylor this year was scrambling out of the pocket, making some crazy throws this year, and I was like, "Oh, word!" And then the personnel too was kind of similar. They have a better version of David Johnson in C-Mac, which that's just disrespect for C-Mac. For me to call him a better version of David Johnson. But they've got some speedy receivers like DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, like
Terrence
Brandon Cooks
Marshall.
and they got Terrence Marshall. They got a lot of weapons that I think would be a crazy schematic difference from what he had in Houston. And I think that he could have a good year in Carolina. So that's just sneaky.
Well, here's the thing. Like, when you get Tyrod Taylor, you're basically expecting him to get in a near-death situation so that the next backup quarterback can just become the next, like, Justin Herbert. Like,
and then you're saying this too. Hey, Sam Darnold, I know we just traded a high second-round pick and a high third-round pick for you last year, but we're saying F you. Hey, Tyrod, come over here. They're probably going to overpay Tyrod. Your head coach is just a complete jackbutt, and your defense is just sick and tired of carrying the game and then still losing the game all over again. Yeah. It's like, and then not to say DJ Moore doesn't deserve accreditation, but it was like he didn't even want to be there last year. Especially those two games when he played us. I don't know if y'all remember it when we played them at home. It was two plays that I remember. So it was the first play, the little bubble screen play out to that little speedy small wide receiver they have. He was supposed to block AJ Terrell, and it was like he just put two hands and was like, hey, go pop him right quick. AJ was like, okay. And just, made the tackle. And then there was a second play where Robbie Anderson got popped because DJ Moore was supposed to take a corner route and make Eric Harris commit to that corner route. He wasn't running at full speed. Eric Harris was like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. He sees Darnold throw the ball to Robbie Anderson. That's how Robbie Anderson gets hurt. So it's like, even if you do sign Tyrod Taylor, he's barely any better than Sam Darnold. He's not young. He's not this young kid that you can mold into. He's like 33, 34 years old.
That's true.
So you have to realize some of those guys in Carolina don't even want to be there at this point. Matt Rule is just really, that entire organization has driven them crazy. And then, like you said, you go 3-0, and then in the last 14 games, you only win 2 of those. It's like,
yeah, I think if he don't win this year, he'll out of there.
Which will suck for us.
Look, if he starts the year off 0-5 or 1 and something, he is out on that last loss. I mean,
I agree.
There's no way you can say, Matt Rule, you've brought this organization some good when he hasn't gotten y'all past a top 10 pick. He had the 8 overall pick last year and spent every pick on defense. And the defense sometimes seemed inconsistent, even though they were 4th overall. We put up 29 on them. They were allowing like 20 or 19. And our offense last year, as y'all all know, was just slow. I mean, Pitts got figured out. Well, not figured out, but the offense got figured out, and we still were able to put up mad points on them like we were earlier in the season. And it was just like, it's like the team gave up on Rule. It's like a Dan Quinn situation. He's a great guy, but as a head coach, he just doesn't fit.
And actually, I want to answer Eric's question because he said, what should we draft in order? Yeah. Now, in a perfect world, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm going to just say the Rams right now are in cap, just they're in the worst cap. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So they're in a terrible situation. And they have 2 good free agents right now that I think is going to be franchise tagged. And if he's not franchise tagged, he's going to get highly sought out for. That being Darius Williams, because he's a top 10 cornerback. The other that is going to be Sebastian Joseph Day, who I've talked about on this channel. And I think Sebastian Joseph Day would kind of just really solidify our trenches, at least in the interior.
Yep.
Which then means when we go inside the draft, I hate to say it, but like Jordan Davis now is kind of off the table. So now we kind of go best player available. So if Kyle Hamilton's there, I'm taking him, no questions asked. I don't even need to think about it. I don't care what our needs are. I'm taking him because he's insane. And then from there, you kind of go edge rusher because the difference between Arnold Beatty and D'Angelo Malone and Boye Mafe is quite big. So I think you go edge. I think you go interior. I think you go wide receiver. And then from there, I think you can go corner if you want to. You don't have to. You can go running back.
Yeah,
maybe a tight, maybe a tight end.
You can go tight end, like Jake Ferguson.
Also, I want to say this though. Arthur Smith runs a 2 tight end set a lot. He only has one really good one on the team. His other one was an old lineman. He was like a reserve left tackle, I think, turned into a tight end. Y'all do realize that. Don't be surprised if we take one of these tight ends in the 3rd round or the 4th round or something, because Arthur Smith's offense predicates on having 2 decent. Well, we already have a superstar in Kyle Pitts. We don't even need a decent. We just need an average to above average guy. Just do
one is a block.
Yeah, or just block. You don't even have to be Hayden Hurst as just block. But
I got a name.
I got a few names too.
Go ahead, Yeezy.
Okay, what you think about Jalen Hawkins? You think he started this year?
I like Jalen Hawkins. I mean,
it's time.
Look, I think he's a ball hawk. I love this dude. I really do. Like in the 2 high safety shells, I think he fits this scheme to a T, because there were a lot of throws that was like, okay, that's open. Because Fabian Moreau and AJ Terrell sometimes would like play a little bit shallow in cover 2, and I'm thinking, they can make Zach Wilson can make that throw. Tua can make that throw, and no, it got picked off, and I'm like, okay. So, like, I think that he's a valuable piece to where, in situations, if we were to draft another safety, we can just stick him at linebacker, because we have Richie Grant or Deron Harmon and Jalen Hawkins, who I know can make plays.
Deron Harmon's a free agent, though.
Yeah, Deron Harmon, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back. So, if he's gone, then that's cool, too. I mean, Richie Grant, and honestly, that's more incentive to draft Kyle Hamilton at that spot. But I'm quite happy with Jalen Hawkins from what I've seen. Like, I'm not entirely thrilled with him in the run game, but like, that's it. That's really it.
I think the thing for Jalen is, if he improves on his run game, like in his run defense and his tackling, don't be surprised if he's like one of the top names in the league in a couple of years, because his ball hawking skills is amazing. He's like a DeMonte KZ. He's a ball hawk guy.
He's got a bigger frame too.
But he hit harder though.
He's a ball
he
hawk.
tougher.
He just has to get better at tackling. But Dan Quinn let him off the loose, and he was always getting some big hits, but they were always target, you're out of the game type hits.
Right.
If Jalen Hawkins has the opportunity to where, okay, you have a great safety head coaching coach. I forgot his name, but he was like, I think he coached Ed Reed back in Baltimore. And you have Dean Pease. And Dean Pease, his system, you need at least 2 good safeties, and you need at least 2 safeties that can come down in the box and tackle. He's going to make sure Jalen can tackle. And to be honest, if you take Hamilton at 8, which I think that's another thing you have to realize, if you're starting Hawkins and Grant, where does Hamilton fit in at? I know you say
in the slot,
slot linebacker,
but then you have to also say, well, we can take a guy like Jermaine Johnson, stick him in the inside, outside, and put him in pass coverage, and it fits a bigger need. Or we could trade back for if Hamilton's there, and you're like, okay. A team wants to come up for Hamilton and they're willing to give another second or a first and a second. Is Hamilton really worth that?
One guy that I got my eyes on this upcoming season is Michael Walker.
Oh, also, if you do put Hamilton at linebacker, you basically just slowing down Michael Walker, who had a pretty decent season this year. He had that pick 6.
I put Dion Jones at defensive end though.
Yeah, like you can put Michael, because Michael Walker could kind of just play the Micah Parsons role in the Dan defense. He can play a rover linebacker where you can put him in the coverage, have him blitz and rush the passer. Like Michael Walker is just versatile, so he's gonna get playing time regardless of who's in front of him. I don't. But like, see, Kyle Hamilton is just rare. Like you can't really pass up on rare. You know, like that safety coach for the Falcons is banging his table hard for Kyle Hamilton, as anyone in the draft should at least, because he's just that good. Like he can make it impact anywhere and do it extremely well, especially because of two high safeties, right? Like you see, as a matter of fact, the Bengals won with two high safeties. Like just like the pick that he threw on 3rd and 10. Why not play two high safeties? Bates. Exactly, they have Jesse Bates. I'm telling you, Kyle Hamilton is going to be an elite safety, and that's no doubt about it. Like when he steps on the field, he's going to be an elite safety.
You would think after all this time that Patrick Mahomes would learn how to read cover too, but
no, actually, it's not. It's a little bit more complex than you think. Like he found some ways. Like he found like Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. They found a concept that works against cover 2, which is what's it called? I forget what concept it's called, but it works well against cover 2 because it puts stress on linebackers. And as a matter of fact, Kyle Shanahan used that concept quite a bit in the Green Bay Packers game. But mainly their go-to to get people out of two high safeties is just running the ball and coming in heavier personnel, which is
they can't run. That's the problem, though. They can't run the ball.
They actually,
they had a couple good runs, and they try to switch it in there. But you can more towards the end of the season and towards the playoffs. You started to see them go towards that old Kansas City. We're going towards the 20-yard bomb every play, and you start to see them go towards that in that towards the Bengals game, towards the end of the season, and it was working because, of course, you're not playing a lot of playoff games towards the end of the season other than the Bengals. The Steelers really just got in because they played the injury-riddled Ravens.
Right.
But, like, that you think, okay, if they're going to run too high, if we can run the ball, play action, get Tyreek down the field or something, or have
Alex, does this answer your question?
The Jets wasp concept? I don't. I think so. It might be. I'm not entirely sure. But
the whole.
It's. I'm sorry. What was that? Easy.
I say I was talking about. I was about to talk about the trenches. I mean, the whole time we've been addressing trenches and the draft. We never find our guy. We need to address the trenches and free agency. I mean, we've been addressing like the defensive line and the draft for years.
Okay.
Never find our guy.
I agree with that. I agree. Dan Quinn Sport have been did that.
There are some guys later in the draft that did well in the Senior Bowl, but are also just good in general. Like I can name a few guys. Tyler Smith, who played pretty well, not in the Senior Bowl, but just this entire year, and is a name that I've heard a lot of people bring up. A lot of guys that are really veterans in the scouting department. There's a guy like Chris Paul, who ironically also plays with Tyler Smith. He's a good tackle. He's done well against quite a few good edge rushers that are supposed to go day 2. So that's a name to keep an eye out on. Braxton Lucas played pretty good. Or I think that's his name.
Ed Ingram from LSU.
Ed Ingram has been playing. Oh my gosh, the way he killed it in the Senior Bowl. Zion Johnson, of course, everyone's heard of. There's another guy that I'm trying to think of.
Tony Wright mentioned earlier about Max Mitchell from Louisiana.
Max Mitchell, I heard a long time ago, and he was good. But in the Senior Bowl, he wasn't that great. But there's a guy, Matt Walseco. I'm not entirely sure. He goes to like a school that I have no clue, but he played pretty good in the Senior Bowl, in my opinion.
Dorian Mathis too. He's like a fourth.
He's
from Alabama. He did have a couple good plays, but he's like a lot of people are projecting him like middle of the 4th, 5th round.
Oh,
Jamari Salyer.
Jamari Salyer is a good name. I've heard of him earlier when I was drafting O-line, scouting O-line. But a name, first of all, obviously Devante White should be brought up. But when I bring up Devante White, I also should mention that from what I hear, he's also been working out with Grady Jarrett for a long time. So I think that's a really good sign, because first of all, drafting him is just going to be production just out the gate. But also, not only is he training next to his buddy that he's worked out with for a long time, he has a mentor, like a real mentor on the team who's going to learn a lot of hand technique from that mentor, which, by the way, he doesn't really need to learn hand technique, because I've seen him do a cross chop Yannick Ngakoue style, so he's good. There are a lot of guys in the Senior Bowl that impressed me, but not really at corner, but a lot of guys in the draft impressed me.
I think Devante White is actually a very underrated guy as far as it goes as a D-line, just because, well, he's kind of like that underside to Jordan Davis, because of course Davis makes all these plays, but I thought Devante White was a little better than Jordan Davis is here, in my opinion, just because he didn't just make plays in the run, but he made plays in the pass game. I don't know if y'all saw that clip, but at the Senior Bowl, he did this little swim move that I've only seen Aaron Donald and Grady Jarrett do. Of course, I saw Grady do that in the Giants game, where he just quick hand swim over, and it's like as quick as that. And it's like, how are you in college and you're learning that? Like, they don't teach that in college. And it's like, oh, he works out with Grady. That's why.
Yep.
And if Grady can teach him more and more, and he gets the experience, don't be surprised if we take him in the second round at that 43rd pick. I would actually love that pick.
I think
that
we
would
should.
be a great pick. That would be a great pick, man. That would be
I
a
think
great
we should. And there are other guys too, but I do like Devante White, not only because of his hand usage, but because of his burst too. Like there's a guy that I know who put Devante White's burst in the summed up in one play. There's one play, right? He jumped off sides like slightly and then got back. Was late off the ball when the snap happened, and still was the first person to get home. That's how crazy Devante White is with just his burst alone, and on top of it, has great hand usage. Like he really impressed me at the Senior Bowl. But I'm gonna stop with Devante White. There are a lot of guys like in this draft. If you need O-line, there's Tyler. Well, I'm not gonna repeat myself, but like there are guys later in the draft that can fit the bill depending on what you're looking upon. O-line, running back, quarterback, not really, but neither corner. But cornerback and corner are like the only two positions that I don't think you really can find any depth with. And
there's probably another one
too.
in probably interior defensive lineman. There might be a drop off there.
There's a decent drop off. Not like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a few interior defensive linemen that aren't too bad, like Zachary Carter. Like he's not too bad. He's decent.
Yeah,
but
there's gems to find.
Yeah, I think with the cornerback position this year, usually, there's years where you can get starters and depth pieces.
Oh, no.
This year, it just seems like there's just starters. Right?
No,
there is no depth pieces. They're just starters. I mean, Derek Stingley, Ahmad, Darion Kendrick, Andrew Boo, Trent McDuffie, who was it? Kobe Bryant,
yep.
All of those guys are like number 1, number 2 corners when they get drafted. There's not a bunch of, and they're not going to last to like round 3 and 4. They're all going to be going to like the first 2 rounds. So really, if you're
there's so many teams that need a corner.
Yeah, it's like, and that's a tempting thing for Atlanta though. The cornerback class in free agency, they're not good either. Right. You're basically just bringing in another Fabian Moreau that's a little good in the end of the season, but in the start it's just inconsistent. When you could have drafted a guy, but then again, like at 8, Jermaine Johnson or Kyle Hamilton was there,
right?
And then you're looking at 43, you're trying to get a corner, and you're like, oh, Kendrick's gone, Duffy's gone, Booth's gone, Gardner, Stingley.
Which, yeah,
Gone.
I want to talk about this cornerback class because if I'm being quite honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of this cornerback class because I think it's slightly overrated. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some ballers in this draft class, but I think it's slightly overrated. Like, I think Andrew Booth just doesn't have the hand placement for me, but his athleticism is off the charts. But he doesn't have the hand placement for me, and he's gotten beat deep even with his crazy athleticism, which I don't really like. Kyrie Elam is okay. Roger McCrary, I do like. He's one of the only guys outside of Sauce and Derek Stingley that I think also use good hand placement. And he actually showed out at the Senior Bowl. But there's Kyle Gordon, and then
have you heard anything from Tariq Woolen?
Oh, Tariq
I forgot
Woolen,
about him.
Tariq Woolen and Alante Taylor. Well, Alante Taylor really doesn't. Okay, I put Alante Taylor and Tariq Woolen in the same category because they're both seniors and they both play with similar technique, which is the technique that I like. Where you have the low hand and the high hand to feel for the break. Mm-hmm. However, they're kind of not great at it. Like, they're not amazing at it. They're decent. They're decent enough to pass by in some situations, but against better wide receivers, I don't really see them doing great. Also, Alante Taylor's going to get torched in off coverage, but that's besides the point.
Could they be something like? I mean, especially with Tariq, could he be someone that's like, oh, hey, you'll draft him for the frame because he's 6'4", and then you'll kind of teach him, if you put him somewhere in the same room as AJ Terrell, I think it's going to do wonders for his production,
Yeah, actually, I kind of could see because again, Isaiah Oliver wasn't killer before this breakout year. So I'm saying he could have a good year learning a little bit more and cleaning up his technique, because I understand in college that you don't come out looking like JC Horn every single time.
No.
But actually there is a guy that I started looking at who intrigued me a little bit. His name is he's the corner out of TCU, Trey Hawkins, some long last name. And at first I was gonna write him off because I didn't really see too many reps from him, and I didn't really see him play against competition because I've only really watched a little bit of film on him. But I noticed that their team runs basically Brandon Staley concepts on defense, 2 high coverages, some quarter looks with an aggressive man underneath. He's normally the corner playing an off coverage, which I'm like, off coverage? That's interesting. And he does pretty well from what I've seen. And then I think I saw him play 1 press man rep, and his what's it called? His footwork during the release was really good. And I didn't really see him get his hands on him. But if you have good footwork, that's pretty good. Which should be noted, Andrew Booth actually does have good footwork during his releases most of the time.
The cornerback you just named for Washington, you mean number 18, right?
For Washington? Which one?
The second corner behind McDuffie.
Oh, Kyler
Gordon?
Number 2, I think. I think he's number 2.
I think he wore 18 in his junior year, I think, or something.
Yeah, he might have wore 18. I didn't watch a whole ton of film on him. I heard that he was really athletic but raw, so I wanted to check him out for myself. And then I saw that he was amazing during people's releases. So I was like, oh, okay, that's something I'm gonna keep in mind. And he didn't he put hands the way that I would teach hand placement. I think maybe a few times. I didn't see it enough for me to really say that he does it the majority of the time, but just his release alone just makes me feel like, oh, he can do it for sure. If you put him in a room with AJ Terrell, he can start. So you can draft Kyler Gordon in the 2nd round, or Marcus Jones, who I will say Marcus Jones will be gone by the 3rd round because he's not slipping past there because he is insane. But I'm not entirely too impressed with this corner draft class, because I think a lot of names that are being thrown out there, like Darian Kendrick and Trey McDuffie, I haven't really watched, but I'll take people's word for it just because I'm not gonna watch him.
I think McDuffie's got like the lowest completion percentage allowed in college football.
Oh, that's great.
The-
But I'm just not gonna watch him. I'm
That's
gonna-
surprising though. The thing about McDuffie though, I wouldn't be upset with drafting him though, because even though he's a short guy, and I mean like 5'10", 190, he is not scared of contact. He will come up and light you up, and he won't be mad at, like he will get your team fired up. He will get that secondary fired up, and I think why teams are trusting him is because his vert is just amazing. Like he's
wow.
like able to go up there, jump, high point balls, intercept. His playmaking ability, he knows when to jump those little slant and curl routes and drag routes, and he knows how to press. He's like, he might be better than Stingley at this point because he's not injury prone.
Okay,
He may be a little shorter, and his hand usage may be a little less than what it should be at this point. But everything else that I just said is basically better than Stingley or at the same point. And he's played the past 2 years, and he's not really that injury prone. I think he's only missed 2 games the past 3 years.
I mean, I feel you. I mean, I haven't watched them, but I feel you. But like saying that a corner is better than Derek Stingley, because I don't think Sauce is better than Derek Stingley, and I think that he, outside of Derek Stingley, is the best corner in this draft class. But like when you say people are better than Derek Stingley, it's kind of like saying like he's like the Chase Young of the position group, if that makes sense too. Like I don't know, like that it's like a big idea to kind of like I don't know. Like I think that someone put it best like last year, like JC Horn and Derek Stingley were literally the poster children of technique in DB in for all DBs, like NFL DBs, college DBs, high school DBs. Heck, I'm in high school and I'm trying to play football next year, and I use that same teaching tape for myself. So like those guys, I put in just a different category. But you're making me want to watch Trey McDuffie. So I'll take your word for it.
He kind of gives me like a Kyle Fuller vibes.
Trey McDuffie's kind of built like Kyle Fuller. I do know that. I've seen him because of Kyle Gordon when I was watching him. But he does look like Kyle Fuller. But like a lot of guys that I just kind of like tune out whenever I see like them just using one hand instead of two hands to grab a receiver. So I just don't really watch him. So like when I peeked over one time when I was watching Kyle Gordon and I saw him just use one hand, so I just said nah, I'm not. But I might check him out again. But there's a lot of depth in this class. A lot of depth that I'm happy to. As a matter of fact, we haven't even talked about the tight end group.
No, I'm all for that. You know.
Okay, we got some guys in the tight end group. Well, first, I think it should be noted that I think the best tight end in this draft class is Trey McBride. I mean, I don't think it's a hot take. I know a lot of people like Isaiah Likely over him. I think that Isaiah Likely's raw in his route running aspect, which is why I don't think he's better than Trey McBride.
I want to find a guy that was like supposed to be our good tight end too, because like we don't need a tight end one. Like we got Kyle Pitts, so it's like I don't want to keep looking for that same. I don't want that same formula. You know, I don't want just like a backup to Kyle Pitts. Like that'd be great, but I want a tight end too. You know, and someone that can fill in that role for us moving forward. So honestly, like if you can get someone like Jake Ferguson, I think, you know, because they spend a lot of time in 12 personnel over there at Wisconsin. He's got great run blocking technique, so that'll be good for us moving forward. Let's see if we can try to get Alex back onto the stream so he can listen in. But yeah, my guy was Jake Ferguson.
Oh yes,
I think that he'd be perfect.
About to talk about. Mm-hmm.
Right up my mouth. Hey guys, so what tight end is on the Browns now that came from good old Wisconsin that Matt Ryan loved for 4 years straight? Anybody remember his name?
Austin Herbert, right?
Come on. Mm-hmm.
That's what I was gonna say.
He kind of reminds me of Hooper, not the receiving type, but the blocking type, to where he's a good blocker. But he can also leak out of there and get those little. He can make, like, his contested catches is good. His hands are good. Now he is kind of like Austin Hooper. There is no extending the play with him. It's just 10-yard. Okay, yeah, 10 yards, 10,
Right.
11 yards.
But when you're gonna get a guy like him, you know, you want to get your third and
10 yards.
Yeah, you want to get your 3rd and 7s. Like, you want just the short completions.
Right.
You know, so it's like, hey, just give me that. You know, if we're gonna put you in a 2 tight end set where you can kind of like slip out the back door a couple of times on those like those play action slide, the reverse wheel or whatever. Like, hey, that'll be good because, you know, Matt Ryan's done that before. He's done that with guys like Levine Toilolo. So it's like he's done that with guys like Josh Perkins, and, you know, it's like
Jacob Tamme.
Yeah, Jacob Tammy's another one. But yeah, I can definitely see him being another guy. Another one to look out for, just because, like, I understand that he's so raw, but Armani Rogers, the quarterback convert to tight end from Ohio University, he is gaining separation from corners.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Huh? Like Ohio University?
Ohio University, the same college that Ben Roethlisberger.
What's his name?
Armani Rogers. He is a stud athlete.
I mean, I know we have Kyle Pitts, but I'm not saying no to that. I'm not.
Of course not. Like, he's got to learn the position still, but it's just a matter of, like, hey, like, you got a frame that we just can't miss out on.
Mm-hmm.
You have speed.
You can separate from corners. That's all I need to hear. That's really all I need to hear.
And from what I've seen and from what I've heard so far, doesn't have any drop issues.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Amazing catch radius. He just has to learn to be that tight end too. And bro, if we can get him in like the later rounds, that's where he's projected to go, by the way. You know, like, he could be like a 5th round steal. You know what I would do, right? With
Amani Rogers, I kind of just play on that wide receiver. Like, you know how when Kyle Pitts was out and we in the Jets game, you're practically using Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts as our wide receivers. That's what I would do. That's literally what I would do. I would
just go play.
So sad.
Dude, just go play 3 flags up. Just go play jump ball outside.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Dude, that's what got the Bengals to the Super Bowl so far. It's like, hey, just like him and Jamar Chase.
That's what they play. They play 7-on-7 backyard football every game.
They just go get it.
Mm-hmm.
I know where to put it for you. You know how to catch it and stay in bounds or whatever.
And
just go up and get it. It can't fail.
The great thing for Burrow is, okay, so rookie year, you got your chemistry with Boyd and Higgins, especially Higgins. And then the next year, you draft a guy that you put up 22 touchdowns with in one season with, and you already got that chemistry right there. It was such a perfect thing. Another thing, though, don't be surprised if a lot of teams start targeting that quarterback and then a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end that he went to school with, that he's used to try to bring somebody that he's along with. Because I think a lot of teams are going to start doing that and trying to copy the Bengals. Now, most of the time, copying another team doesn't work, as a lot of people have seen. But, hey, you never know. Another thing for tight end, though, don't be surprised if we trade for one in the offseason either. Kind of like what we did for Hayden Hurst, except don't send a 2nd-round pick for a guy that didn't even get over 500 yards with us.
Mm-hmm.
That was all, that was all Dimitrov.
TD, yeah. But don't be surprised if we trade like a 4th or 5th-round pick for David Njoku. They said that he does not want to be there in the Brown system anymore. He doesn't feel used like he was before Austin Hooper came there. And now that is the thing, though. You're not going to be the tight end 1 over here, David. You'll be the tight end 2. Not just because we want Kyle Pitts to learn the system in football.
He'll be on the field.
Yeah,
that's all he wants.
On the field. It's not like you'll have another blocking tight end in front of you like they did at the Browns. No, like, you'll be on the field. So, a 4th or like a 5th-round pick for him when he hasn't really done anything since 2019, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Kyle Pitts is not a blocking tight end, so
Right.
that would work.
I do want to try to get our next like Lee Smith kind of guy too, but those guys they usually fall anyways, just because they fit a very niche style of offense.
Or they go undrafted, kind of like Parker Hesse. Hesse isn't receiving tight end at all. Like he's not going to make a 50-yard touchdown with a Waller or Kittle or something.
But yet he was third in receiving on our team in the last couple of games. So
Jesus.
There's a lot of
Man,
talents that kind of fit
when
the
you
bill of
say
Parker
that,
Hesse.
it just sounds so sad. Like a blocking tight end that was a left tackle coming out of UFA was third on your team in receiving. That just sounds terrible. But
and then the
Alex,
other
what were you
tight
about to say?
end,
Huh?
Go ahead.
anyways, the other tight end that's on our team is Jaden Graham, who's coming back from IR.
Oh yeah,
I forgot
that's
he was
true.
on the team.
He was good at Yale. He was good.
I know every player on the practice squad in IR, but I just forgot about Jaden Graham when we started adding tight ends on top of tight ends, and they wouldn't work until Parker Hesse, and I just forgot Jaden Graham was even on the team.
And the crazy
Hey, I
thing
think
is-
he's an unrestricted free agent this year, though, kind of
Oh.
like Younghoe Koo.
I mean, if he's gone like after next or this season, I mean, there's still guys in this draft that are like, for example, there's guys that I haven't mentioned that are still aren't even getting really recognition. Like there are guys like Sam Laporta out of Iowa who's been pretty good, Cade Otton who's pretty good from Washington, the UCLA tight end is pretty good too, and the Texas A&M tight end is good, but he's not my favorite, but he's good. There's still the Alabama tight end too, who's still being
I'm an
rumored, but there are
Alabama
a
fan. I
lot
don't
of
forget
depth
his
in that.
name. His blocking is good. It's just his catching. Now he can run routes and extend plays. It's just he has a lot of drops that you're like,
Ohio State
do
tight
you
end?
really want that? And as an Alabama fan, coming like first up, you're like, as a like, would I be opposed to drafting him? No, because you still have to develop guys. But drops aren't something you can just develop. Like that comes with the player. So you have to realize that. Also, Noah, we have Mark 504, which I haven't seen since like October.
Yeah, he clearly came in late, and it's like, come on, y'all, you know the answer to this. Yeah, it's the Falcons, dude. We have all the tough parts of our team figured out. All right, look.
Other than
we
wide
have
receiver and basically wide receiver and O-line, we have everything.
Yeah, we have guys that we can trust that we know are going to be on our team come the next season.
Hey,
So-
what do you mean? What do you mean when you say the worst part of our team is already fixed? You talk about head coach and GM, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the head coach. We're talking about the GM. We're talking about the quarterback. We're talking about, corner. You're talking about interior defensive line. You got the linebacker position.
Yeah.
You got
Look, Mark.
kicker.
Look, Mark. I'll say this.
Oh my, the Mark.
At least we have our quarterback, our linebackers, young talent, and we aren't nearly $100 million over the cap space.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be a Saints fan ever with how things are looking with them. Sean Payton is gone, and y'all got faith in Jameis Winston to carry y'all through the entire
Jameis Winston's a
season.
free agent, so they have to.
So nobody. Okay, great, even better.
It's either going to be Taysom Hill on the worst extension, or it's going to be Ian Book or someone else that they can try to draft it. I don't know what, like late 20s or something.
I mean,
they have the 16th pick.
16.
And
yeah,
still,
they're kind of in between the Eagles.
And still, I mean, no, my bad. The Eagles have the 16th pick. They have the 17th
that's going to be
pick.
Sam Howell for them.
And they still probably couldn't get a quarterback because they don't have the capital, they don't have the resources, and they don't have the money to trade up like the Steelers, the football team, and even the Panthers that are already in front of them do.
So if you're trying to say that he can take care of the tab, dude, you know what happens when you go to like the mock drive simulators and you try to pick as the Saints? You realize that some of your picks get removed because you can't afford it.
You said that last year. You restructuring a contract isn't taking care of the cap. It's just saying, all right, we're about to push like $30 million in the next year. Okay, so we're going to be about
It's only going to make it worse.
Over the cap.
Don't,
You're just
don't y'all
making
still
it
got
worse.
Michael
So,
Thomas that
to
y'all
be
not
honest,
paying?
the Saints might not even be the Saints in the next couple
they're
of
the
years
Texans of the NFC right now.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
no, what I can say about the Texans though, they have like $9 million in cap space. The Saints have none. They can't even re-sign or sign a player right now, and you have like 27 free agents.
I mean, how did they get there?
It was tough being a Saints fan. Now with Sean gone, and you cannot tell me if Sean Payton was not there last year, you're not even winning 5 games. You're probably bottom of the barrel with the Panthers, and that's probably what you guys are going to be next year. You're interviewing Eric Bieniemy this weekend. So one, you didn't even have a coach to go see the Senior Bowl. Re-signing period is about to come up in about a week now. Still going to need a head coach. You saw how long it took the Falcons to get just over $44 million in cap space with a first-year head coach. Imagine what that's going to be. Well, you have Mickey Loomis, but we don't know about Mickey Loomis. It's been reports from last year that he may leave like Sean Payton did this year.
Well, yeah, not to mention Mickey Loomis wanted Terry Fontenot to be his successor.
And now that's gone.
I mean, I got one of my homies.
Forced to be there now.
I mean, I got one of my homie who is a Saints fan. I mean, last month I was joking. I was telling him, "Hey, Saints fire Sean Payton." It happened to be true.
They didn't fire him. He retired.
Yeah,
still the same thing though, because I mean,
I cannot predict it.
I mean, it's crazy for the Saints. Like, they're trying to hire Eric Bieniemy, which
should not be a head coach.
If they hire Eric Bieniemy, that
doesn't make sense.
He'll be gone. The year
Eric Bieniemy should not be a head coach.
He didn't have a quarterback or the weapons that he had in Kansas City.
Exactly.
Because what they're gonna do is they're gonna go 4-13 this year. 6-11 or 5-12. They're like, well, what's going on, Eric? You know, he's not doing so well. Well, he has Ian Book as his starting quarterback. He has Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway. One of them is a journeyman and one of them's a failed second-round pick. And you have no tight end. Alvin Kamara starting to get injury riddled, and both of your left tackles are about to dip out on you. And you can only franchise tag one player. Mark. Exactly. So there's not like, okay, we're gonna franchise like 3 players. No, it's one. It's only one.
Exactly.
And then you only have the cap space to sign like 2 draft picks out of the 5 or 4 you have.
And like the Kansas City Chiefs offense was so predicated off of talent, or not talent, but mainly off of just the personnel. Like Travis Kelce able to just suck in a whole bunch of double teams. Tyreek Hill also sucking in double teams, and the development of guys like Mecole Hardman and Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson is what helped them out. They don't really have anyone outside of Marquise Callaway and Traquan Smith.
Traquan Smith isn't even that good.
He's
to be honest, he shouldn't even be number 1. He should really be number 3 or number 4. Callaway, I get some respect to. Callaway is like a respectable number 3 or 2.
He did pretty good this year.
But that's it. Like Kamara and Callaway. You saw what happened with Pitts, who's better than Callaway. Cordell isn't better than Kamara, but you still saw what happened.
Right.
2 star players isn't gonna get you to the playoffs.
Exactly. Like
this year. And you have no quarterback too. We have Matt Ryan. Y'all have no quarterback either. And your O-line, basically your best 2 players on your O-line is leaving. Also, Mark, when you said none of this is true, Noah listed this last night. Even if you cut 22 of your players last night that don't give off dead cap, that only frees up like $8 million in cap space. So you're still $66 million over the cap. And then you have 22 free agents too. So
Like,
basically, your team's about to be a bunch of second-year rookies, undrafted free agents, and the core you already have now that you can't cut away because they give off too much dead cap.
Dude, you realize how wrong he is? Dude, he's saying we only go live once a year.
That is the falsest thing because we go like it's like once.
Oh, but I don't know what I'm talking about because I only do my shows every single Wednesday night. You know, Mad Mike only does his shows every Friday night. Hey Styles only does his shows every Monday and Thursday. We got the good fellas that want to do every, most Saturday mornings, but some of them can't right now because they got COVID. I don't know what you're trying to say about that, but okay, I guess we're wrong because we don't know how to run our own channel.
Did he wait? Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, I need to address this. He said Pitts isn't better than Callaway. What stats did Pitts play against Saints? First of all, what? Like Pitts is a tight end and averaged near 1,000 yards. I don't even know what Marquise Callaway had this entire year. What? Huh?
Callaway had like 750 yards and 6 or 5 touchdowns.
Exactly.
But when Callaway played us, Terrell had him on lockdown. You only heard from the thing is, I think the Saints targeted Fabian Moreau more and the running game more than what they did in that first matchup. Because the passing game, sadly for y'all, that's sad to say, but for y'all, we locked y'all down in the passing game. The Atlanta defenses can't say much about that in the past 3 to 4 years. We locked down the passing game. And Terrell had Callaway locked. Basically, really the only reason he scored that touchdown, you have, who was that? That was Deontay Harris running a drag. They're in cover 2, so there's no help over there either. You have Marquez Callaway running a drag route in his own, but you also have Callaway running like a little deep out, like at the back of the end zone. You can't, if he stays in the dead middle, okay, maybe you jump up and get a pick if he throws Callaway, but if you just stay in the middle, Harris is too fast. As soon as the ball gets there, as soon as he turns up and cuts up speed, and he's shifty and strong, that's a touchdown off rip. And that was really the only touchdown that y'all had for really the only touchdown that AJ Terrell really allowed all season. No, that was the only touchdown he allowed all season.
The better one that Wildcat Ali.
When?
That's the better one that Wildcat.
Oh yeah. Kamara will be. I'm not.
They do that anyways with Taysom Hill. Like.
And Taysom, didn't Taysom Hill just tear something in his foot that won't allow him to play till like October, November?
Man,
remember, that was the reason Trevor Simeon played the rest of the game because he tore something in his foot.
Finger.
So y'all
their quarterback.
You have a backup quarterback that you said signed $140 million deal to that can't play till November. You have a rookie quarterback that on his first 3 passes threw a pick 6, and you have. Well, yeah, that's it. That's the only 2 quarterbacks you have. Trevor Jameis Winston's free agent, Simeon's free agent, Buck's a terrible quarterback, and Taysom's a below average wildcat runner that can throw slightly better than Cam Newton.
Taysom Tebow.
That's it. Thank you, Noah, for giving us a new nickname for him. Let's just call him TT from now on. Taysom Tebow. TT. That's what y'all have. And you're telling me, Mark, you can tell me that the Saints with the new head coach can make the playoffs with that next year? No way. There's just no way.
Like
Airbnb should not be head coach. He over there in Kansas City, he don't do nothing. We all know he's in the weird play calling.
Well, I mean, first of all, he might not even get a job because of the Flying Forest situation.
Because of the because of Brian Flores, right?
I understand.
No, I don't think Brian Flores is involving an Airbnb job, but the thing is, Brian Flores will not be head coach in the NFL no more.
He should. But he may get this Saints or this Texans job, but they'll probably do that to lower some heat off of the situation. Like the NFL will say, okay, keep him for like 2 years, crazy, and fire him no matter what he does. I don't know, but he'll probably end up getting that Saints or Texans job. Hopefully, I don't want him to get.
We all know how that works. Like
doo-doo out of that offense that he has.
Like I want
cancel
y'all to
culture.
think about this. I want y'all to think about this. Brian Flores, one game against the Ravens, ran the same blitz 36 times, and the Ravens couldn't stop it, and got 6-9 points, and lost the game.
15, I think.
15. Like,
I ain't gonna lie.
and
The
by the
Ravens
way, this
offense
is the same blitz that they ran last year too. So it's not like a new blitz that was like insane or popularized. This is something that Brian Flores has ran, that Dean Pease has ran, that
Bill
Mike Zimmer
Belichick has ran probably the
Bill
past 10
Belichick has
years.
ran, and this dude was still able to just and quite honestly, it worked so well more so because of coaching and personnel than the actual play call, and that's why I like Brian Flores. He ties in everything with his coaching.
What I will say though, my bad to cut you off, Alex, but the only thing I will say though that the Saints have that's as good as the Dolphins defense is the D-line. They don't have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones and Igbiano and those Javon Holland back. Well, no, Marcus Williams a free agent. Yeah, so you don't have Javon Holland back there or Marcus Williams. Awesome. Some of your D-line is free agents. I think your Janoris Jenkins is a free agent this year too, if I'm not mistaken. Bradley Roby, you only signed him to a 1-year deal, so he's a free agent. That Saints team is really down the water right now. Last year, I think they got off the hook because, they didn't have as many free agents. This year, they have like 29 free agents.
Which is
I think like 16 or 17 of them were.
Malcolm Jenkins, the free agent. Like, it's crazy.
What Sean Payton do? The GM also?
No, it was Mickey Loomis.
He's still there?
Yeah.
Damn.
I guess that's all you need to say.
That's really all you really need to say. Like Mark next year, you know what? Since he only tunes in once a year, Mark, next year I really do want to see you just when your team goes 3-14. I'd really like.
You're doing him a favor by giving him 3 wins.
That team, that Saint. Look, I know we say this. We've said this the past 3 years. The reason this year is statistically different, y'all never had a free agent class of over 10, and y'all never had any free agent class that had most of y'all starters and key contributors in it. And you're gonna look. Even if the dead cap hurts, you're going to have to trade a lot of these starting pieces. And you had Drew Brees back then. You don't have Drew Brees anymore. You have an injured Jameson Winston coming back. Mm-hmm. And then some of your picks may get taken because you don't have enough money to sign them. Terry, I know Mickey is missing Terry right now because I think Terry was a main reason why they got out of a lot of cap hell that they have the past 3 or 4 years. Both no Terry, no Sean Payton, and a lot of free agents. And Mickey has to worry about cap space, Senior Bowl, head coaching, getting the coaching staff, and the draft and free agency. All draft is in 2 months. Free agency is in 1 month, 3 weeks, and the draft is in a month and a half, and you still have to get a new coaching staff. Yeah, and you're telling me, and you're honestly going to tell me that the Saints are going to be a winning program next year. Let me read y'all. He said, Mark said this. He said, every player that I stated earlier that it's a free agent is going to be back next year. No, there's no way every player on that free agent class is going to be back next year. There's no way. There's just no statistical way. Even if they love the Saints to daring God, they want their money. They're going to want money. How they performed last year, how good of a defense y'all was last year. They're going to say, okay, put me in the right scheme. I can do this. Give me like a 2-year, 3-year, $15, $20 million deal. I'll do that for you. The Saints can't give that. The Saints, the biggest contract you can give right now for the Saints is 2-year, $8 million. You saw the biggest contract we gave out last year in free agency was 2-year $5. 2-year $5, and we were lower on cap space than what y'all are now.
You know, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something crazy. Look, let's just say the Falcons take the Falcons out the equation. Take the Carolina Panthers out the equation, right? The Buccaneers right now, let them lose Chris Godwin, Rob Gronk, Jones, Fournette, and just have Giovanni Bernard, who I think is still a free agent, and Kyle Trask and Mike Evans. Literally, that's it. Like OJ Howard gone, and have Cameron Brate behind him. That's it. I still think that team has a better chance of winning the NFC than the Saints. Like, that's how bad y'all's team is. It's terrible.
The only starting DB that's coming back from last year is Marshawn Lattimore.
And Marshawn Lattimore is, I mean, Paulson Adebo actually had a pretty decent season, but like, that's it. Like,
I mean,
y'all don't really have much there. That's it.
Do the Bucks have like any free agent on defense?
I think Carlton
Jason
Davis is a free
Pierre-Paul.
agent.
Sue, yeah.
Sue is a free agent.
Jordan Whitehead, they're one of their starting safeties.
Golston is a free agent.
Yeah, he's gonna leave.
Do they have money though?
Hey, Mark said, when was the last time we won the NFC title? When was the last time y'all didn't choke a divisional game? When was the last time y'all made it to the Super Bowl? You know, I understand the Super Bowl didn't go the way it is, but y'all haven't reached the Super Bowl in over a decade.
Who say that? Who say what?
He said, when was the last time we won an NFC title game? Really wasn't even that long ago. It was only 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And y'all didn't win an NFC title this year, so I don't know what you're saying about that.
Exactly. I'm lost here. What point is he trying to make? Like, I don't think the Saints.
He is Saints fan. You know what?
Point is, he's not going to try to worry about his team, so I'm not going to try to worry about it for him. So he can have whatever kind of grand delusions he can ask for, but the bottom line is
the Saints are going to stink next year.
Just focus on yourself. I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
and actually learn about what money is.
Please, because the way
baking and credit class is needed. Oh my!
I would be surprised if Mickey Loomis is able to sign at least 10 of their free agents back next season.
They can only afford. I will
bet you this, because I'm going to keep doing these lives. I'm probably going to be steady on doing these lives in the coming future. By the time free agency comes in about 2 weeks, a week after, if I hear that Mickey Loomis was able to sign at least 10 free agents or re-sign 10 of his free agents, I'll call him the best GM in the NFL. I promise you that. I hope you guys remember that. Mark, remember that. I hope you're listening. If Mickey Loomis is able to sign a coaching sign a coach, get his cap space under the cap, sign free agents, and keep all of his draft picks, I will call him the greatest, one of the greatest GMs of all time.
That's all we got to say. Any final thoughts about tonight, or any last things you guys want to say?
One last thing. As far as two last things actually. As far as the Super Bowl coming up, we all know CJ Uzomah hurt his knee in the AFC Championship game. He hasn't practiced in 3 days. He's eligible to play. He didn't tear anything. I think he sprained his MCL, but
he might try and pull in a Thomas Davis and play hurt anyways.
I think the Rams are gonna win either way. I think it's just the Rams. Like, when you got 2 of the top 10 corners in the entire league on the same team, I don't really see Jamar Chase and T. Higgins doing anything against those guys. I really
if Joe Burrow even has time to throw to them.
Exactly, and that's another issue. Like, they got Vaughn and Aaron
So-
Donald and Leonard Floyd. Like, this is the wrong team for you to have an issue with pass protection with. And
Damn,
you can't throw the ball deep either.
Trey.
Final thought, easy.
So Trey say it's a guarantee that the Worms gonna win.
Oh no, it's. I hope I want the Bengals to win.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised because the Bengals. I mean, let's be serious. The Chiefs have a good front four. Like they have a good front four, better than the Rams. No, but do they have a top 10 front four, top 5? Yes, and the Bengals struggle with that. But with C.J. Uzomah being one of the check down guys that Burrow looks for, and he's actually a good blocker too. I didn't notice it's still a divisional game, but he's actually a very good run blocker too. So if he's out of that game, you thought it was hard to run it to score points on that Chiefs defense. Chiefs defense. Wait till you meet the Rams, who have a better, just all around better defense.
One last question.
I liked CJ Uzomah last year too, when Burrow was hurt. Like he played pretty good in those reps when I saw him.
Yeah, one last question. Do you guys think that whoever wins the Super Bowl, like other teams, will try to copy what they did in order to get there?
No.
Hell yeah, I think so.
If the Rams win, oh yeah, definitely. If the Bengals win, you can't copy that because you don't know what quarterback is going to tear his ACL and MCL, come back the second year.
Well, probably not that part of it. But
It's not that part of it.
But probably the weapons part of it and the defense part of it, yes.
Right.
But
yeah,
if the Rams end up winning, you probably will see like 2 or 3 teams just blow every single dime they have to get every star they in there.
Right.
There's one little quick thing that you might want to learn about the Bengals offense. I think they're like the second least. I think they're second least in terms of like penalties. So they're like the most disciplined offense too.
One of the worst lines, but they're disciplined. I don't see a lot of
also did throw the
from
most picks this year though. Something to keep in mind. But
some sacrifices have to be made.
right. But I think for the Rams, here's how I know that if the Rams win, that they're gonna copy the Rams in their defense and their offense, or mainly their defense. The reason why I know that they're gonna copy the Rams' defense is because they're already doing it. So it's just gonna keep on moving. But I think that they're gonna make slight innovations. For example, like running cover 5, which is basically cover 2 man, is something that teams are gonna start using a lot more of. Especially when you see the Rams when they have Darius Williams and Jalen Ramsey as the top 10 corners in the league. A lot of teams are gonna start using those corners, those outside corners, to start funneling things outside and force your slot guy to beat you, or your tight end to beat you and win the game. Because they can just be aggressive with their wide receivers, trust their safeties deep, or maybe don't even need to trust their safeties if they're that good of the corners, and they can have their safeties just tunnel in on the slot guys and the tight ends. And I think that's going to be the future of defense, and just rely on those 4 to get home. So, that's ideally what you would want in defense. But with the Rams, I already know that people are copying it. Heck, Dean Keys is copying it right now. So I think the Rams got it.
Well, only one way to find out.
Last note on the night, last second before we hop off. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of teams start having 2 to 3 first-round picks in the draft, because all these other teams are starting to trade for their stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you see it with the Eagles.
Those
first-round picks that they have is because teams tried trading. They were either rebuilding hard or they were trying to win hard.
I mean, look at the Jets.
Yeah, they got 2 picks in the top 10.
In the top 10.
And they're trading away. And the Giants, but the Jets really are just like, okay, best player, you can go. Best player? Oh, yeah, come here. Oh, you're one of our best players too? Oh, yeah, you can go too.
Yeah.
But on that note, I think it's time to hop off.
Yeah, thanks you guys for watching. Thanks you guys for, we made this like a almost 2.5 hour stream, a bit longer than I was kind of planning for, but like that, I hope it was a great show for y'all. I don't know about these Saturday night streams and how reliable they can be for my schedule, but if there's a demand for it, well, I guess I'll try to make it work for you. So on that note, hey. All right, guys.
All right.
Take care, man.